The food service, hospitality, and retail industries are evolving in ways you've never heard of until now. Hosted by global industry technovator Rob Grimes and powered by the IFBTA, Tech Bites is your go-to podcast, putting technology innovation and trends on the menu.
Rob Grimes with the IFBTA and Tech Bites. And this is like a really, really special treat to have Abby Lorden, the Vice President and Publisher of Hospitality Technology and RTN, on Tech Bites. So welcome to Tech Bites.
Super excited to be here, Rob. I love that geographically we're not that far apart, and yet we get to meet virtually.
Well, the only time I ever actually get to see you is not geographically close apart anyway, except once in a while at Dulles Airport.
At the airport, for sure.
Which we just told people sort of where we live. But I said special treat, and I'll tell you why this is a special treat for me. Because obviously, MURTEC has been around 30 years, because I can read above your head, but 30 years, and I would know that. And we've never actually had a conversation online before, and there's so many things going on in the industry that not only MURTEC, HT, RTN, but you have been through a lot and seen a lot and done that. So why don't we start with MURTEC, because it's coming up in a few weeks in March. So it is in Las Vegas, as usual, March 10th through 12th. And it's the Caesars Forum, the new venue there.
That's right. Yeah.
And
that's right.
Why don't you give us the history of MURTEC to begin?
Oh, gosh. Well, what's so funny, right? I just recently celebrated my 20th anniversary with the HT brand. And so I've been with MURTEC for a long time. And it's so exciting to see how the industry has changed and evolved and how MURTEC has grown along with it. What is always really fun, especially when we have one of these kind of landmark anniversary years, is we go back and we look at agendas from like MURTEC 10 years ago, MURTEC 15 years ago. I even remember when it was our 20th anniversary, and we look at some of the agenda topics. And what always blows my mind, Rob, is how much thematically the industry is talking about the same thing: loyalty, personalization, managing data, right? And so when we go back and look at some of those topics, so much of those challenges in the industry are persistent from year to year. But what does change is how are we using technology to address it? And that's what's so exciting as we continue to look at that evolution and some of the things that we're working on for MURTEC 25.
So, wait, hang on a second, because it just occurs to me, since you've been around for 20 years in it, and you talked about, you hit a number of bullet points there. So I just want to focus on a couple of them. Two things seem to change. Technology seems to change from year to year, or it evolves, but also the people change. And there's always new people coming in and new people, and people changing up, and you have mentors and people coming to the industry. And so, I've been to a lot of shows, just like you over the years, and I'll go to MURTEC, and they'll say, "Is this your first time at MURTEC?" And they probably say, well, they won't say it to you because you're up on the stage, but, I've had people say that to me at different things, and I'm like, we are kidding, right? I've been around, but you realize how the people are changing as well and evolving, and the type of attendee, I bet, has changed over the years.
It has, right? I mean, it has evolved. We also have, we have people who've grown up through MURTEC with their careers, right? Some of our Lifetime Achievement Award winners, 6-7 years ago, we were giving them Rising Star Awards, right? So there's absolutely a very, I would say, an incredible following of people who've been in this, the hospitality industry.
I think you just said, by the way, that 6 years is a lifetime in technology in the hospitality industry.
Right? It feels that way. But, people, once they get in this industry, they love it. They get bit by that bug and frequently they may evolve and change roles, but they still have to hang out in the food service space, and they certainly put MURTEC on their agenda. And absolutely, right. We are seeing new roles, new integration of technology and marketing and data. New challenges bring the need for different type of skill sets and talents, technology backgrounds into the market. And we definitely see that when we take a peek at the attendee profile.
And the definition of technology changes too. You have a new innovation area that you've been doing the last few years, and I start seeing food safety in there. Mm-hmm. And then you start seeing cameras on food, which is for sustainability, portion size. So you start seeing the definition of technology itself changing, where it's not just loyalty and it's not just POS or back office and things like that, but it actually encompasses new areas, hence also new people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very cool.
So what should so long history, things evolve, new people come. So what would be the highlights that people should expect, coming up at MURTEC 2025 in a few weeks?
Yeah, for sure. It's coming up soon. So I think the best place to start is with the theme. We had a ton of fun when we put together the theme for the 2025 event. We had a lot of ideas, but the one that absolutely felt magic when we started to put it together was this notion of experience matters. And when we thought about experience matters, we thought about the experience of the frontline team member in the restaurant, the experience of the folks working in the kitchens, the experience of managers who are trying to orchestrate all of those nuances of labor and inventory, to the experience of the district managers, to the experience of the leadership teams. And those are all their own unique experiences, right? Those are their own tracks and learning experiences. Then you've got the experience of the QSR restaurant, which is different than the needs and the technology conversations of the full service restaurant. So we had a lot of fun when we talked about experience matters and how we could bring that to life in a MURTEC this year that really focused on the unique experience needs of the different segments of the industry. So we're bringing that to bear in some pretty cool ways. We have several new education halls in addition to our main general session hall, where we got some really exciting keynotes that we can talk about. But we've got some breakout education halls that we have. We're identifying them as experience zones. So we have a QSR experience education zone, a full service education zone, and then a disruptive technologies and business models zone, right? Because
how do you decide what goes into there?
Holy moly. I think it's an interesting wild card for anything that doesn't necessarily fit into the one of those two clear market segments. But, you also start to think about how much off-prem and on-demand has grown as a model. Subscription has grown as a model. Hot, fresh food vending is growing. So we've really made it easier, I think, and even more. We've kind of simplified the finding your micro communities within MURTEC. You can hang out in some of those experience zones and really get great education that are unique to your needs, in addition to everything that's going to be going on in the main education hall. So that's something that we're bringing to the program that's new.
Do you run programs? They're run simultaneously, but are they repeated so that people, if they miss one, because it can't be in two places at one time, or can they? I don't know. Maybe they can, because
Oh my
there's
gosh,
after,
right?
things
We all
afterwards.
need little time turners. Yeah. So Rob, it's such a good question. We have tried different approaches to that on and off over the years. There's always so much education that we try and pack into a few days. So what we've really settled on is we're not repeating sessions this year, but we do have incredible recording capabilities so that we have the ability to then publish synopses of those highlights, and they'll be all over the Hospitality Technology YouTube channel, and we'll let people know about those when they come out so they can see what they missed. But another really important point on that, and it's something that our content team is taking very seriously this year, restaurant operators and solution providers always say to us, hey, we can't be in all places. How do we learn what went on in this other room that we weren't able to be there? And so our content team is also really taking seriously how they can do some real-time reporting, right? Learning what was said in that room and how can they bring that back to share it,
summarize it and bring it back, which is great. And the technology is different today to be able to do that, even deliver it in any fashion that somebody wants. But at the same time, a lot of organizations and a lot of shows and events, conferences, end up being 2 to 3 days. And you guys aren't 2 to 3 days because you're really all year long. And I was sort of hoping that you might talk about some of the other continuing things that you do during the course of the year. And certainly we should talk about RTN.
You said it and we live it and breathe it, which is MURTEC is 24/7, 365, right? We wrap one show and we're already planning for the next one.
Although for 3 days, I know some people who are 24/7 for about 2 to 3 days, because I walk out in the lobby at 3 a.m. when I'm getting up and I'm seeing people who perhaps may still be up.
Yeah. And over my 20 years, that population has evolved and changed, right? I'm no longer part of the late night crowd. But yes, Rob, so MURTEC itself obviously is a year long in planning, but to your point, it's part of of a family of brands. We've got Hospitality Technology Magazine. HT Magazine is our digital face to the market, where we're constantly covering trends, great case studies, looking for new technologies that we can educate the market about. We do some pretty cool research multiple times throughout the year. Every year at MURTEC, we release a benchmark study on restaurant technology trends and what restaurants are telling us their top buying priorities are, what their challenges are. So that data is going to drop at MURTEC, but you can get access to all of that content throughout the year. We've had a lot of fun in the last several years, then expanding that and bringing the RTN membership community to life. And
you want to just do a quick description of RTN, because even though you and I might both assume, and the IFPTA certainly tries to promote when things are published, I don't make the assumption, and the global audience may not know it. So do you want to just give us that overview first?
Absolutely. So RTN is Restaurant Technology Network, right? And ultimately, it's a membership community within the restaurant technology space that has come together. At its core and at its initial, the birth of the concept was to really provide a space where the broader industry could come together and solve challenges that could be made easier through technology standards and some shared glossary, if you will, right? If we can start to agree on terminology, on frameworks. So the membership community in the 6 years since its inception, they've definitely produced standards. We've got some really valuable standards in the market, including a standard around customer data record. They built a standard on transactional data. They defined for the first time, it was one of the first things we tackled, what it means to have an open API in the industry, right? So there are standards initiatives that the membership community and the members are doing this, and it's so incredible to see the amount of absolute passion and time that the members have put into this.
But to be clear, the members are both operators as well as suppliers.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're both coming together. It's not one or the other.
And you need that in order to do a true standards initiative, right? We need the operators coming to us saying, this is the challenge that we're running into. This is what it's like to try and put together a fairly fragmented technology platform and multiple different solution providers. And where can we find areas where sameness actually elevates everyone, right? It's never about creating sameness to impact competitive differentiation. It's about making it easier for technology companies to innovate and easier for restaurants to find solutions that are the perfect fit for them. So the membership community, there's a lot of passion around that initiative, and they continue to do that. But we also have a lot of fun just getting together, right? Coming together at places like MURTEC, places like the NRA show, and providing them with platforms to share and learn and grow. So for folks that are super passionate about the standards work that we do, we love it. And for folks that would say, when those standards come out, let us know, because we want to take advantage of them, but they may not necessarily want to be as involved in the building of them. We have ways to keep them happy as well.
I would be remiss if I didn't point out that under the word hospitality technology, that the word hospitality doesn't just mean food and beverage.
For sure.
So I'm not sure that everybody realizes that there's a lodging side to, your work and your events and things as well.
There absolutely is. So hospitality technology as a media entity covers technology across the restaurant and the hotel space. Right. And so what we do in the restaurant world with respect to research and news stories and industry profiles and awards, we do a lot of that for the lodging market as well. And in fact, Rob, one of our very early on partners, and still an incredible partner in the work that we do at RTN, is the American Hotel and Lodging Association, AHLA.
A partner of the IFPTA as well.
Yeah, and they are big believers in the value of standards. In fact, they really made that clear when they collaborated and brought the HTNG membership group underneath the AHLA, right? So HTNG, at its inception, which is a hotel technology standards group, the folks at HTNG, they helped us get RTN off the ground when we really wanted to learn, well, how do you tackle standards for a technology industry? How do you bring these suppliers together and create a safe space for them to start collaborating? So we learned a lot from our friends at HTNG that are now part of AHLA. And they're still great partners and supporters in the work that we do. And in fact, I think some of their team will be with us at MURTEC in a few weeks.
Right. And, that is, certainly one of the early groups that started in the hospitality industry, but there is overlap. But on the other end, there's really a lot of sharing. And there's obviously we see more and more food and beverage coming into the hospitality lodging market as well. And then you have the crossover of retail as well. And you actually mentioned, the concept of fresh food vending, out there. Is that food and beverage? Is that retail? Is that, what is it, right? But
Yeah.
yet it crosses over and within your portfolio, which I know within your companies as well, you cover retail. So you really are like a triple threat. You've got all three, hospitality, food service, and retail, within it. But they do cross over. And there's probably, I guess, for somebody like you, a lot of learning that you get from your peers in the other industry segments.
So much learning, crossover learning, right? So the parent organization of HT and RTN and MURTEC is called Ensemble IQ, and Ensemble IQ is a B2B media entity, has an incredible footprint across the broader retail marketplace, right? Everything from specialty to grocery to big box. They're also pretty involved in healthcare. So cool to see the overlap between hotels and hospitals. There are some really interesting through lines there about managing properties and technology and guest data and so forth. But yes, there's definitely a lot of opportunity for us to collaborate as leadership teams, talk to our friends in the retail sector, looking at how can we learn from retail media. But one of the most interesting crossover learning moments that I still talk about when we meet with restaurant operators today is what we can learn from hotels who have had to navigate the world of third party. They've been navigating the world of third party for a couple decades, right?
Absolutely.
Talk about like the rise of OTAs and the booking.com and the hotels.com. And when all of those engines came into the hotel market, it was unprecedented. Nothing like that had ever been done before. It created a lot of disruption in guest loyalty and the direct relationship that hotels had with their guests. And the lodging industry had to navigate that. And so we at HT, I personally am a believer that there's definitely lessons that we can apply from what the hotel industry has had to do and how they've maintained relationships with those third party providers, but also driven value in the direct loyalty relationship that restaurants can be learning from as they navigate the world of third party as well.
So let me put you on the spot because, clearly I've had people who have talked about those who run conferences, and sometimes you have editors and sometimes you have professional conference organizers and things like that. And sometimes you hear that it's not a complaint, but you get the comment that, gee, this person, is a great editor, they're a great content, they're a great organizer, but they don't really understand the busy business that they're working in. And clearly you understand through and through, not only, food service, but also lodging technology and things. So based upon your observation, and here we are this year, what do you think are the things that the restaurant industry could learn from healthcare, travel, retail that you're seeing from your counterparts? What do you think that we could really learn and benefit from? And then, of course, the next question is going to be, what could they learn from us, right?
Sure. So, I mean, I think that the example that I just gave from the lodging market is probably one of the most powerful, timely, continues to evolve within the lodging space, right? So if you're a restaurant operator and you haven't, I think it would be a great idea to do a little bit of digging and research on how have hotels driven loyalty, because hotels had to be really thoughtful about what they could offer through direct booking channels to make sure that they were starting to really cultivate and renew that direct booking relationship with the guest again. And I think that there's an opportunity for restaurants to start to think about what does the offering look like to a restaurant guest that is coming to us directly through our own e-com channels versus one that might be coming through a third party channel, and how can they provide special value, right? The surprise and delight notion that hotels are so good at. I think there's a great opportunity to learn from the.
Do you get any of those people that come to MURTEC that can actually share that knowledge?
We do. Yeah, we do. And we sometimes they're able to participate in our agenda because within the hotel world, there are management companies that own and manage hotels and also own and manage F&B within it. So we do see some of our friendly faces from across the sector.
Or you get like the casinos where you're going to be in Las Vegas, where they have outsourced food and beverage and partners, and those partners are coming to MURTEC.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you really get both. So if I turn the tables then on that, what would you tell the lodging or retail industry that they should be learning or could learn from food and beverage?
Oh my gosh, this is one of my favorite topics. And it goes back to a time that we all try and put in the rear view, but it's COVID, right? And what was so apparent to me when I watched these two industries respond to a crisis and a massive amount of digital escalation is that restaurants were profoundly innovative and scrappy, got really, really creative, and started thinking about how can we turn our parking lots? How can we take our table management systems and turn our parking stalls into tables, essentially, right? There was a degree of resilience and scrappiness and creativeness that the restaurant industry ran forward with, and it was incredible to see it. And I think it really gave rise to some of the amazing things that we see in the industry today, right? So what I love about that I often will really try and counsel the lodging market to embrace is where can hotels become faster, become more scrappy, become more innovative? Those that learned that lesson are definitely seeing that it is impacting their ability to implement new
Including being
technology
able
and
to
move
be a great
fast.
food and beverage outlet that can deliver and do off premise, which they may not have thought about before. But, to your example, during COVID, we don't live far from each other. And there's a restaurant right around the corner from me that did a lot of banquets. And I would have this conversation with this guy early in the morning when it was coming to Mother's Day or Valentine's Day. And I think it was Mother's Day in particular. He would say, well, we normally do 1,000 covers, but because of the limitations on how many people we can have in our
Mhm.
main space during COVID, we have to do 25%. And I said to the guy, there's a hotel down the street that is closed or has nothing going on in their banquet room, and they have 3 times the space that you have in that banquet room. So you could have the whole thing a half a mile from here, and they never thought about getting together and having that conversation.
You are so right, Rob. I think what we absolutely saw that commercial kitchens can really have a value. Particularly now, we are seeing a rise in catering, right? And there's interest
Off
in
premise, right?
catering is a technology category that we're seeing some evolution within. And I definitely think this is an area that hotels can look at if they don't have a group booked and they've got a massive amount of capital investment in all of that kitchen equipment. How can they partner with restaurant brands that might be in the ghost kitchen space to start to help provide them with a means to move product through what otherwise would be an unutilized asset for certain parts of the day.
So I want, our audience to realize that this conversation that we're having right now actually occurs 24/7 for 2 to 3 days and then all year long. But starting with MURTEC, which really helps to, kick off, the year for us because it's early in March. It really continues on. But you know what? If we haven't convinced people already that they ought to attend, I think that you have some special keynotes and special guests that are there that might be, a very special chance to hear some people provide some knowledge and experience. So, what
Yeah.
might that be?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some pretty incredible keynotes we have announced. I'll start with our absolute incredible headliner, which is Damon John from Shark Tank. And I just was watching him on Shark Tank the other night. We are so fortunate and excited to bring that level of, again, like the energy, talk about embracing being an entrepreneur, scrappiness, creativity, bringing that level of energy to the MURTEC attendees and really helping them get inspired about their future. So we're super jazzed about Damon John. We also have our friends at Domino's, the Chief Digital Officer over there, Christopher Thomas Moore, or CTM.
He's terrific. I
He's
actually had him on Tech Bites, but we did it from Singapore, from NRF Asia.
kidding.
We did it
Oh,
last June. He and I did a conversation, and I saw him at NRF, and he told me he was going to be participating with you.
we're super excited. He was when we met with CTM and initially invited him to come on the program, and he graciously agreed. And we talked about the theme of experience matters, and he was like, "That is bang on for how Domino's brings they're a food service company, but they're so technology forward." So he's got a lot to say about loyalty and e-commerce. So we're really excited about that. And then
He's got
I
some great
can't.
ad clips if he runs them.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun sizzle videos, some
I
fun
am
video,
certain
no
of that.
doubt.
But does everybody get free pizza?
Oh, gosh. Man, I wish we'd had that conversation a couple months ago. And then, of course, we're really excited to bring the Red Lobster story to the stage, right? The new CEO over there at Red Lobster is he is praised for his turnaround capabilities. He was recognized by Fortune as one of the most 100 powerful business leaders. So we're really excited to have. I'm going to get some great stage time with him in an interview, learning a little bit about what he's doing to bring. Just this Red Lobster is such a beloved, iconic brand. We all loved it and had a ton of fun when we saw how the consumer market and Flava Flav even rallied around that beloved Cheddar Bay biscuit. So I'm really excited to catch up with Red Lobster and
Are
hear
people
about their
getting Cheddar Bay biscuits?
I know.
Are we like
Biscuits and
missing the
pizza.
boat here or what? Boat, Red Lobster, I don't know. Anyway,
I'll tell you what they are getting though. I'm super excited to share that we are also working on bringing an AR VR experience zone to the MURTEC show floor. And this is new. This is sort of you heard it here first type of news because we haven't officially announced this, but we're working with our friends at Magic Gate and a few technology partners to bring AR VR equipment to the MURTEC show floor. And they're going to be able to really give people an immersive experience to understand how XR technologies can help with training and operations. So that is a big announcement that is still to come. But there's a lot of really fun things that are going to be happening on the show floor this year.
Well, that's great. So there are a lot of good reasons to go. There's a lot of good reasons to go and have a conversation with Abby. And, you certainly can meet up with the IFBTA. We're going to host one of our celebrations on the Tuesday night, March 11th at Harrah's Piano Bar in support and celebration of technology that's brought together by MURTEC and HT Magazine. Are there any parting thoughts until I get to see you in person once again, not down the street, but in Las Vegas in a few weeks?
I would just say thank you very much for the time today, and to everybody listening, experience matters, and come and experience that firsthand at MURTEC 2025, our 30th anniversary.
Well, Abby, I want to thank you for joining us and sharing this time here and sharing your experience that does matter as well, because experience matters also, having been there 20 years. Okay, I'll say that quietly. We'll take care of that later. But it's a pleasure to have you on and talk about MURTEC, talk about HT Magazine, talk about RTN, talk about hospitality, talk about technology, talk about VR and everything else that we just covered, which was a lot of stuff in a very short period of time. And we'll get to do that over 3 days coming up in a few weeks. So,
absolutely.
Abby Lorden, Vice President, Publisher of Hospitality Technology and also of RTN. And thank you for joining us on Tech Bites.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. See you soon.
See you soon. This podcast is brought to you by the International Food and Beverage Technology Association. The IFBTA is the industry's voice of food service, hospitality, and retail technology, providing thought leadership as your single, impartial, and go-to resource. The IFBTA offers in-person and online communities to connect with your peers, the exchange, an all-encompassing global technology resource, and an industry-wide professional education and certification program. The bottom line is the IFBTA is your place to gather, learn, and share in conversations like the one we're having today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Tech Bites, powered by the IFBTA. I'm Rob Grimes, your host, and I look forward to taking our next bite of technology together.